Welcome back to Voice of Resistance Radio. This is your host, Derek Wills, with you live from Houston, Texas on freedomizerradio.com. I'm also live on livestream.com/The Voice of Resistance Radio. I'm very happy to welcome to the show Sheriff Richard Mack. How you doing, Sheriff?
Hey, doing really well, Derek. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to talk with you. You're always very inspiring. I guess let's get right into it. We've got guests on the line who are listening, people who know you and are familiar with you. We've got some others who maybe aren't so familiar with you, so maybe you can just tell everybody a little bit about you and your career.
Well, I actually went to college to become an FBI agent. My father was an FBI agent, and then I was working my way through college as a part-time meter maid, parking enforcement cadet is the technical term for meter maid. And I did that while I was going to BYU in Utah. And then the FBI thing never materialized, so I hired on full-time with the Provo Police Department. I was still hoping during that time, in the beginning years, to hear back from the FBI, but I never did. And looking back, I'm really grateful that I did not work for the FBI, but at the time I really wanted to. Then while I was a cop, I decided that there was something wrong with my job. There was something wrong with the roadblocks and all the ticket writing and the drug war. And I just served a year assignment as an undercover narcotics officer. And I said, what is all this about? And I started asking questions about what government was for and what police are for and why I have this job and why we even exist. And while I was searching for some answers of those questions, I ran smack in the face of the oath of office. And this was back in 1983. And I became very disenchanted with the fact that we all swear an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, and yet there's not anybody in government or police officers or anyone else in government that actually keeps the oath of office or pays any attention to it. It's just a ceremony, and it otherwise is meaningless, and it makes all of us liars and hypocrites, and I didn't want to be a liar and a hypocrite anymore. So I started reading and studying the Constitution and the Founding Fathers, and I went to a seminar for police officers entitled The Constitution for Law Enforcement Officers. The instructor's name was Dr. W. Cleon Skousen. I loved the class, and I was totally converted to the Constitution, and I dedicated my life to its preservation. And then in 1988, after serving 11 years with the Provo Police Department, I moved back home to Arizona, where both my wife and I are from. I ran for Graham County Sheriff in my hometown and was elected and then reelected in 1992. And then in 1994, I was the first sheriff in American history to file a lawsuit against the federal government, against the Clinton administration, to stop the incursions and the gun control and the violations of the 10th Amendment associated with the Brady Bill. And we actually had a few other sheriffs join the lawsuit. Sheriff Prince from Montana and I ended up at the United States Supreme Court in December of 1996, and then we won the decision. We won a landmark decision on June 27, 1997, when the United States Supreme Court agreed with us as sheriffs, saying that the federal government cannot tell us what to do. The states are not subject to federal direction, and I've been writing books and touring the country ever since, and now I'm running for United States Congress based on a very solid constitutional platform, and if we don't get back to our Constitution, America will continue to die. And in fact, I believe that we are now the generation within the next few months and maybe at the most in the next few years, which I don't think we have that long to go, before our constitutional crisis becomes even worse and that we lose our Constitution forever. We better get back to work. I've written a couple of books about that, and that the book, The County Sheriff, America's Last Hope, is all about local sovereignty and local nullification, and that the sheriffs and county commissioners should be working together to get the federal government off our backs and out of our counties.
You recently held a conference in Las Vegas, and I'm very curious to know if Sheriff Gillespie from Clark County there in Las Vegas attended.
No, he absolutely did not. We invited him several different times. Some Tea Party people invited him. I left a personal invitation with his personal assistant. They wouldn't let me talk to him, but I invited him, and yes, he got invited 3 or 4 different times, and it appeared that he wanted nothing to do with it. There were a lot of sheriffs there, and Sheriff Gillespie should have been there.
There is an argument that if it wasn't for police, politicians would not be able to take away our freedoms. I'd like you to respond to that, and and thank you very much to the host for letting me get the call in.
Thank you, Tiger Lily.
I think that's basically true. Our police are robots. They're trained just to follow orders, and I believe that has a lot of merit to it, and that is actually one of the reasons why I am so involved with training police officers and sheriffs in this country to follow the Constitution and to keep their oath. And I know that that's what Oath Keepers is doing, and I'm on the board of directors with them. And so if we can return to those basic fundamental principles, we can save our country. If we don't, America is doomed. Thanks, and I would just like to tell all your listeners you can donate at sheriffmackforcongress.com. sheriffmackforcongress.com.